Most people know George Clooney as the calm, confident movie star with the unforgettable smile. To audiences around the world, he became the face of classic Hollywood charm, starring in blockbuster films, winning prestigious awards, and building a career that seemed almost effortless. But what many people never see is how difficult the journey really was. Long before the red carpets, magazine covers, and international fame, George was simply a kid growing up in Kentucky, trying to find his place in the world. His life wasn't a straight path to success. It was filled with disappointments, rejection, and personal struggles that quietly shaped the man he would eventually become. George Clooney was born on May 6, 1961, in Lexington, Kentucky, into a family already connected to the entertainment industry. His father worked in television broadcasting, while his aunt had become a respected singer and actress known throughout America. From the outside, it looked as though George had every advantage. People often assume that growing up in a well-known family guarantees an easy future. In reality, family connections can introduce opportunities, but they cannot create talent, determination, or emotional strength. Those qualities have to be earned. As a teenager, George experienced something that deeply affected his confidence. He developed Bell's palsy, a condition that temporarily weakened one side of his face. For months, smiling, blinking, and speaking normally became difficult. While the condition eventually improved, living with it during his teenage years was emotionally challenging. High school can already be difficult for anyone trying to fit in. Facing a visible medical condition only made those years harder. Instead of allowing embarrassment to define him, George slowly discovered that humor could become his greatest defense. Making people laugh gave him confidence and helped him move past his insecurities. Years later, many people praised his relaxed personality and natural charm. Few realized those qualities were developed during moments when he felt anything but confident. After graduating from school, George explored several different paths. He enjoyed sports and even hoped baseball might become his future. When that dream faded, he began searching for another direction. Eventually, acting caught his attention. Like thousands of young performers before him, he packed his belongings and headed for Los Angeles with hopes of building a career in Hollywood. Reality arrived quickly. Instead of movie roles, he found endless auditions. Instead of success, he faced rejection, again and again. Casting directors chose someone else. To support himself, George accepted ordinary jobs that had nothing to do with acting. He worked wherever he could, earning enough money to keep chasing a dream that seemed further away each year. Many people would have walked away. George didn't. For nearly 2 decades, he continued showing up, learning from failures, and refusing to believe that disappointment would be the final chapter of his story. Every unsuccessful audition taught him something new. Every setback strengthened his patience. Every difficult year quietly prepared him for opportunities that hadn't arrived yet. Finally, after years of uncertainty, everything changed. In the mid-1990s, George earned the role that introduced him to millions of viewers, playing the compassionate and charismatic Dr. Doug Ross on the medical drama transformed his career almost overnight. The actor who had spent years wondering whether Hollywood would ever notice him suddenly became one of television's biggest stars. Success looked instant to the public, but those closest to him understood the truth. Behind that breakthrough were years of sacrifice, financial uncertainty, and countless moments when giving up would have been the easier choice. George Clooney's story reminds us that overnight success often takes many years to arrive. The world finally saw the confident actor, only he knew how much persistence it had taken to become that person. George Clooney's untold story, the life behind the Hollywood legend. After becoming one of television's biggest stars, George Clooney faced a new challenge. He had proven he could succeed on the small screen, but Hollywood wasn't convinced he could become a leading man in movies. Many actors become trapped by one famous role, and George knew he had to take risks if he wanted a lasting career. Instead of choosing the safest projects, he accepted roles that allowed him to grow. Some films received praise, while others struggled at the box office. Every success taught him something, and every disappointment reminded him that fame could disappear just as quickly as it arrived. Then came the movies that truly established his place in Hollywood. Films like Out of Sight showcased his natural charisma, while Ocean's 11 introduced audiences to a confident, stylish leading man who could carry an entire blockbuster. Before long, George Clooney had become one of the most recognizable faces in the entertainment industry. Awards followed. So did worldwide fame. But behind the cameras, life was far from perfect. In 2005, while filming the political thriller Syriana, George suffered a serious back injury during a stunt sequence. What initially seemed manageable soon became a painful medical condition that affected nearly every part of his daily life. Simple tasks became exhausting. Sitting for long periods was uncomfortable. Sleeping was difficult. The pain lingered far longer than anyone expected, although the public still saw the same confident actor appearing at premieres and interviews. Very few people understood what he was dealing with behind closed doors. Recovery was slow. There were moments when the physical pain became mentally exhausting, forcing George to confront challenges that success, money, and fame could not solve. The experience changed his perspective. For someone who had always appeared calm and in control, learning to accept help from others became one of the hardest lessons of his life. Over time, treatment and determination allowed him to regain much of his strength, but the injury left a lasting impression. It reminded him that no career, no matter how successful, can protect someone from life's unexpected struggles. While his professional life continued reaching new heights, his personal life was taking a very different path. Years earlier, George had married actress Talia Balsam. Both were ambitious, working hard to build their careers, but balancing marriage with the demands of Hollywood proved difficult. Eventually, the relationship came to an end. Unlike many celebrity breakups that become public battles, George rarely blamed anyone else. Instead, he openly admitted that he wasn't emotionally ready for marriage at that stage of his life. Rather than making excuses, he accepted responsibility for his own mistakes. That honesty earned respect from many people who appreciated his willingness to look inward instead of pointing fingers. Following the divorce, George spent years living as one of Hollywood's most famous bachelors. Magazine covers celebrated him. Interviewers constantly asked when he would marry again. Rumors surrounded nearly every friendship or public appearance. Yet despite all the attention, he often appeared content, focusing on his work, his friendships, and causes he believed in. Away from filmmaking, George also became increasingly involved in humanitarian efforts. He used his fame to bring attention to global issues, supporting organizations that work to protect human rights, assist refugees, and respond to humanitarian crises. For him, success gradually became about more than awards or box office numbers. It became about using his influence to help people whose voices were often ignored. As the years passed, George Clooney evolved into something greater than a movie star. He became a filmmaker, producer, activist, and respected public figure whose influence extended well beyond Hollywood. Still, one part of his life remained uncertain. Many believed George Clooney would never marry again. After years of independence, even he seemed convinced that chapter of his life had already closed. But sometimes the biggest changes arrive when we least expect them, and before long, one unexpected meeting would completely transform everything he thought he knew about love, family, and the future. George Clooney's untold story, the life behind the Hollywood legend. For years, George Clooney insisted that marriage was no longer part of his future. After experiencing heartbreak earlier in life, he embraced his independence. Friends joked that he was Hollywood's most committed bachelor, and even George often laughed whenever interviewers asked if he would ever settle down again. As time passed, people stopped expecting him to change. Then everything shifted. In 2013, George met Amal Alamuddin, an accomplished international human rights lawyer whose life was completely different from the world of Hollywood. She wasn't chasing fame, She wasn't interested in celebrity culture. Instead, her career focused on international law, justice, and defending people facing some of the world's most difficult human rights issues. From the beginning, their conversations felt different. They talked about more than movies or the entertainment industry. They discussed world events, family, travel, and the causes they cared about most. The connection grew naturally. What started as friendship slowly developed into something much deeper. For George, it was unexpected. After years of believing he was happier alone, he realized he had found someone who challenged him, inspired him, and made him imagine a future he had never planned. In 2014, George proposed. Later, he joked that he had become nervous while waiting for Amal's answer, despite decades of confidence in front of cameras. This moment felt entirely different. It wasn't about appearing on magazine covers. George Clooney's journey reminds us that even the brightest stars have faced moments of doubt, heartbreak, and uncertainty. Before the awards, before the fame, and before becoming one of Hollywood's most respected actors, he was simply a young man chasing a dream that often seemed impossible. Every rejection, every setback, and every challenge became another step toward the life he would eventually build. But perhaps his greatest achievement was never becoming a movie star. It was discovering that true success isn't measured by awards, wealth, or worldwide recognition. It's found in the people who stand beside you, the family you cherish, and the difference you make in the lives of others. Through love, fatherhood, and humanitarian work, George found a purpose far greater than anything Hollywood could offer. Today, George Clooney's legacy extends far beyond the screen. He will always be remembered for his unforgettable performances, but those who know his story understand that his real strength came from resilience, humility, and the courage to keep moving forward when life became difficult. His journey proves that behind every famous face is a human story filled with hope, growth, and second chances. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another inspiring journey behind the world's biggest celebrities. Thank you for watching Unmatched Celebs News, and we'll see you in the next video.